All right, half a day and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2022 Legislative Forum. My name is Charlie Onadera, your Be Influential Subcommittee Chairman. I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. I would also like to thank the incumbents and Youth Democrat senatorial candidates for making time to be with us. Let's get this forum started. And at this time, I'd like to introduce and welcome our moderator, Ione Lages.
Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Charlie, for sharing the ground rules with the candidates and participants for today. I'll just go ahead and repeat that just so that everyone is aligned on what we will be doing today. Again, last week we had the Republican Legislative Forum, and that's when the candidates had a chance to basically answer questions that were prepared before the forum, and same thing for today, except we're featuring the Democrat candidates. And each candidate will be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves and their platforms and their initiatives. And then after that, we'll go over a series of questions in which each candidate will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to field a response. Okay, so we can go ahead and start with introductions. I will just go down the order based on random lottery. We'll start with William Parkinson.
Good day, everyone. My name is William Parkinson. I'm the son of former Speaker Don Parkinson. I was raised on Guam, and my whole life I wanted to become a firefighter. And so for 10 years, I was a federal firefighter out at the United States, operating out of Region 1. When I was about 26 years old, I got the hardest call that I was ever going to get in my life. My father was too sick with advanced Parkinson's to continue working. So a week later, I dropped out of school, I answered the call, and I changed careers, and I was back here on Guam being a full-time caretaker. And, you know, in my time as a full-time caretaker and running our business as a small family pawn shop, I saw how people were struggling to make ends meet, you know, just trying to make it from one paycheck to another, as well as trying to help my dad through the VA system. I saw how hard it was for a lot of our veterans to work through that system. And, you know, you can only see so much of that before you feel the call to service, that you want to do something for your community. And so that's why I'm running for senator. And if I become senator, some of the things I want to do is, the first stop is I want to continue my father's fight for lower utilities, because I just had my first $1,100 power bill, and I do not want any more of that. And so in the short term, I want to look at legislation similar to Governor Liu to help pay down our bill. But long term, I want to take advantage of the elusive obvious and put solar panels on all of our roofs using federal dollars. Other things I want to do as senator is I want to future-proof us and install a permanent unemployment program and embrace universal health care. And not only that, I want to protect the rights of women, because I'm a staunch pro-choice candidate, as well as the rights of cannabis users everywhere on island, to protect them against discrimination. So I would hope you please consider me for one of your votes for senator. I'm number 8, Will Parkinson.
Thank you, Will. Let's go ahead and move on to Fred Bordalio Jr. You are on mute. Just a second. I can go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead. Still did not unmute on my end. Can everyone else hear him?
Okay, can you hear me?
There we go.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, good morning, half a day, Guam Young Professionals, Guam Chamber of Commerce. I'm Fred Bordalio Jr. I'm number 12 on the Democratic Party ballot. I'm running for the 37th Guam Legislature, campaigning. This is my 3rd campaign. I'm a former chief of police for the Guam Police Department and former director of Guam Veterans Affairs. My wife is Dolores Nicholas Cruz. She just left to go to teach computers at her class over at Guam Community College. I'm running because service in our family. We have a lot of relatives, and my grandfather, everyone got into business and government and public policy. And I believe I'm prepared to address the situation of supporting the recovery of our economy, strengthening law enforcement, and also taking care of our veterans and addressing the threat of drug abuse, which is also is a complex problem and also affects the productivity of all of our citizens. So again, I'd like to wish everyone, a pleasant morning again, and thank you for inviting me here. And I'm ready to answer some of the questions that people may ask.
Thank you, Fred. Let's go ahead and move on to Senator Sabina Perez. You are muted. Apologies. Okay, there we go.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's beeping on my end, so I'm not sure if it's about to unmute. But anyway, so Hafaday, my name is Sabina Flores Perez, familia Gozo and Cabeza. Thank you to the Guam Young Professionals and Chamber of Commerce for organizing this platform. I'm number 5 on the Democratic ticket and humbly ask for your continued trust and support this upcoming election to build upon the work of sustainability using expertise that I've gained as a senator, teacher, diabetes researcher, and medical technologist. My passion and platform has always been sustainability, which I've consistently worked towards by passing over 20 pieces of legislation. Some impactful accomplishments have been creating policies to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels by mandating government use of energy efficient products, expanding businesses and nonprofits for electric vehicles, and the passage of the Guam Tropical Energy Code, which reduces energy costs by 50 to 70%. As you know, one of our largest exports is cash for the purchase of fossil fuels, money that can be circulated within our economy when we support local businesses and entities. I've increased protection of our environment by strengthening the Safe Drinking Water Act, increased enforcement of illegal dumping, and protection of our coral reefs. And part of sustainability is ensuring we use public funds wisely, and I've done that through the meaningful reform of Guam's procurement and expanding ethics training of all government employees. As you know, the work of sustainability is not yet done, and with your help, I would like to continue this work with my platform, which includes protecting our environment and health of our people, diversifying and rebuilding our economy through education, promoting green social entrepreneurships, increasing food security and self-sufficiency, promoting affordable housing, increasing transparency and accountability within our government to address the needs of our people. Again, my name is Sabina Perez, and I'm number 5 on the Democratic ticket, and I humbly ask for your continued trust and vote this election. Suzuis Masi.
Thank you, Senator Perez. Okay, so we will move on to our next candidate. It's Kelly Marsh Titano.
Happy day. I just want to check before I start. Am I showing up on the camera at all?
Just audio at the moment.
Okay, so after my introduction, I'll go ahead and close this down and try to re-enter to see if I can be shown. I mean, I combed my hair and everything to get ready, so, but let me go ahead and start. So, Suzuis Maasi, Guam Young Professionals, for hosting this forum. I am a daughter of Guam. As is a common story, my parents came as educators venturing here in the 60s, fell in love with the island and made it their home. I believe in a sustainable Guam, developing and operating in a responsible way. We are the stewards of our children's inheritance. We must meet our needs today, but in ways that do not compromise their rights and what they will inherit. Not only is Sustainable Guam responsible in that way, it is the pathway to opportunities. We can increase our food security, we can diversify our economy, and have cleaner, less costly forms, and maybe more reliable, we're going through some issues right now with reliability, of renewable energy. So also, I speak truth to power. It was why I was asked by our Zoamti, or also known as our Surahanas, and others to run for senator, to provide our community a voice that stands up for their values and is not afraid to speak up. I am the only senator in numerous years that subpoenaed an agency when they refused to provide reports that had been paid for to the tune of $1 million with taxpayer money, and they were not being forthcoming with their work. It was difficult to do, but I am a person who is persistent and saw the issue through until we had those documents in our hands. So as a senator, I attended as many of the public hearings as possible. I feel that those that take the time to come in and testify deserve that. And there's nothing like listening to the issue and asking the questions firsthand. I research legislation and I vote based on the facts and the issue. It seems very straightforward, simple to say, but it doesn't always happen. So Joyce Mahasi, number 16, Kelly Martino on the Democratic side of the ballot.
Thank you, Kelly. Go ahead and move on to Dwayne Nicholas. Dwayne, are you there? Okay.
Hi, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Dwayne Nicholas. Thank you for allowing us to join this forum. I don't know why I've been trying to log in. I can't find how to put up the video. But anyways, my name is Dwayne Nicholas. I'm number 18 on the ballot. I'm a former customs officer, school counselor. I'm a Santa Claus. I run my own business as Jay Goodman, and I'm a veteran with the U.S. Army Infantry HUA, and I just want to make restore trust in government and build a better society. Thank you.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Next up, we have Senator Joe San Augustine.
Good morning, and can you hear me good? I'm good. All right, and thank you, Guam Young Professionals from the Chamber of Commerce, for setting up this forum. I'm Senator Joe San Augustine. I'm the son of former Speaker Senator Joe San Augustine, and my mom Carmen San Augustine. I have 3 siblings, Mary, Annie, and Johnny. Let me see. I'm happily married to Joanne Babalta from Santa Rita. We have 3 kids. Saturn, married to John Gumatalto, Brandy, and Thomas Joseph, TJ, married to Jamie. We have 11 grandchildren, and we have 1 great-grand. A little bit of my background: I've got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I'm retired from the Army National Guard active duty. I'm a former police officer. I'm a former criminal tax investigator from the Department of Revenue and Taxation, and also a former compliance supervisor. I was also on the Board of Education with the Department of Education for 6 years and chairman for 3. So I know there's some issues here that's going to be brought up, public-private partnership. That's what I've been pursuing with the Department of Education. That way, take a look at it now from the government perspective. Now, I've served 3 terms with at the Guam Legislature, and I'm hoping for a 4th term. I'm number 9 on the ballot, and I hope to do what we need to do and answer all your questions. And my slogan is, it's not about the easy way, but the right way. And please, everybody, have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Joe. Go ahead and move on to Speaker Therese Terlocki.
Hafaday. I'm Therese Terlocki, serving you in my 3rd term as a senator and currently Speaker of the Guam Legislature. I sincerely thank this forum for Guam Young Professional members and for staying informed and engaged in past elections. I'm a lawyer by profession, graduate of UCLA Law. For 30 years, I've been assisting families, veterans, senior citizens, and small businesses. I also served for 7 years as an assistant professor of criminal justice and public administration at the University of Guam. The pandemic has affected each of our families and exacerbated the fragile state of healthcare and economy on Guam. Before and during the height of the pandemic, I've worked tirelessly to prioritize resources supporting our health infrastructure, directing the legislature's oversight power to hold critical agencies accountable, getting us through this pandemic and economic challenges. During this term, I was the first to push for gas tax relief for all consumers, increased appropriations for tax refunds by $20 million to prioritize prompt payments, and I introduced amendments that appropriated $5 million to increase food assistance to vulnerable families, continue to struggle till today. I've been committed to protecting our land resources, our sacred and ancient burial sites, and have advocated for transparency in precious resources. We created legislation to increase penalties for environmental violations and provided more resources to expand our inventory of affordable housing and set a new standard for the lease of submerged lands under its authority. Advocating for additional relief for families and small businesses and compensation and fairness for our veterans and community impacted by radiation exposure and Agent Orange. I'm not beholden to any special interest and believe in using the legislature as a check and balance for all issues, and have mandated reporting of federal funds since the start of pandemic, and was first to ask for increased reporting of public health reporting regarding our assistance programs. When we have transparency and all of the information is put before the people, no matter what the issue is, we as a community have a chance of coming up with a solution to our long-standing problems. This is how we can hold ourselves and our government accountable, continue to work with our entire community and to help to address all of these issues as we look to move our economy and island forward. Thank you again to the Guam Young Professionals, and I humbly ask for your vote during this election. I'm number 2 on the Democrat side of the ballot. Sidusmas.
Thank you, Speaker Terlahi. Our next intro will be by Roy Kanata.
Hafide, good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hafide, good morning. Thank you, Guam Young Professionals and the Chambers. I just wanted to say good morning to everyone and thank you guys again. My name is Roy Kinatsa. I'm running for Senator. I am the youngest candidate for office, and I think it's time to pass the torch to the next generation. I mean, we've had a lot of ups and downs as a community and as an island, especially during this pandemic. We've seen the influx of crime. We've seen the influx of hardships with our people, and I think it's time for the next generation to step up. And if you're not willing to step up, then you're in the way, right? So if you're in the way, move out of the way and give the next generation a chance and let us do some work. And my platform is HEAL, Housing, Economic Development, Accountability, and Land. And with that being said, I'm number 3 on the Democrat side, and I humbly ask for your vote. And let's get this party started. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Roy. Next up, we have Alexander Dueñas.
All right, buenos and hapa day, everybody. My name is Alexander Dueñas. First of all, I'd like to thank the GYP for hosting this wonderful event. Thank you so much. And I'm just going to go straight into myself. So just a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Guam, and I am the son of educators. I graduated from George Washington High School in 2010, and I graduated from the University of Guam in 2015 with a double degree in accounting and economics. Afterwards, I entered into private industry where I was the accounting manager for the American Medical Center Group of Clinics, and I also worked as a commercial banker for ANZ. So people often ask me, what is my platform, naturally? And it is, in a nutshell, economic development as well as economic improvement. We got to go back to the time when COVID was here, and it was a novel virus. Nobody knew what was going on with it, and it was a dangerous time. It was a very terrifying time. Many businesses didn't know how they were going to put food or keep their doors open. Families didn't know how they're going to put food on the table or pay for rent. And I attribute this to the fact that we're reliant on one form of industry, which is tourism. And it's a fantastic base, but we need to diversify our revenues. We need to diversify our economy. And how do I plan on doing this? I plan on doing this through the expansion of agriculture, through the fostering of micro as well as small scale enterprise, furthermore through the expansion of trade between Guam and our neighboring islands, and finally through the development of small business development and mentorship programs. Because during this time, what I was able to also observe is that the people's entrepreneurial spirit burned very strong. And we need all of this to work together to build a stronger economy and to build a stronger Guam. So with that being said, my name is once again Alexander Dueñas. I am number 11 on the Democratic side of the ballot, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Next up, we have Roy Gamboa.
Hafide, can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. Hafide, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much to the Guam Young Professionals for allowing all of us to be able to share our thoughts and our platform with you all. I'm a Southern boy, born and raised in Agate, and currently reside in the village of Agate. At the ripe old age of 17, I joined the United States Army with the reserves, and I guess after that, I also spent some time with the Guam Army National Guard. And after 9/11, I joined the service with the United States Marine Corps. Spent a couple tours in Iraq and learned quite a bit along the way. With the reserves, that being a weekend warrior type job, I was able to work here on the island of Guam, work with some prestigious companies such as, the Pepsi Cola Bottling Company, IET&E, Hit Radio 100, and a couple of other small businesses since then. I've also been a small business owner myself, and I'm a proud father of 4. And I don't have as many grandchildren as Senator Joe San Augustine, but eventually in time I will probably get there. And what I've been hearing since I'm one of the later speakers here is a lot of my friends here have really great ideas on how we can make our island a better place to live. And all these ideas are best used when we can work as a team. And I think that's what I see in front of me is a bunch of professionals in their own field and in their own right that are going to be wonderful to work with. And that way we can continue to move our island forward. That being said, I hope to be one of those members in the legislature that will be able to work alongside with all of these members right here. And this way we can help restore respect to our island, respect for each other. And simply my slogan is let's respect Guam. My name is Roy Gamboa. I'm number 17 on the Democratic ballot, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roy. Alrighty, next up we have Daryl Chris Malfunction Barnett. He doesn't have video, but I'm sure we can all hear him loud and clear. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the Guam Chamber of Commerce and the Guam Young Professionals for having us in this forum. It's very humbling to be able to take this opportunity to answer your questions and share issues. My name is Daryl. My name is Chris. My name is Malfunction. My name is Daryl Chris Malfunction Barnett. I'm running to be your voice in the legislature, number 7 on the ballot. People have been asking me to run for office for many years, and I just felt like with everything going on that this was definitely the right time to do it. On my way to work, working for the media over the last couple of decades, I've seen our island change every morning I drove into work. And I don't like the way Guam has become, drugs and crime. When we talk about platforms, there are many issues I think that we need to address, but my priority is going to be drugs and crime, specifically crystal methamphetamine. As you guys well know, our island is, or the face of our island, the face of our people has changed because of this crystal methamphetamine pandemic. It's definitely a full-time problem, but we've kind of had a part-time public safety chair. So if elected, I really want to focus on supporting the Guam Police Department and also protecting our youth from the dangers of crystal methamphetamine. We talk about drug epidemics. There are usually 3 fronts that we approach it with: enforcement, which when I talk to people, we're not doing enough of that; awareness and education, which means educating our kids about the dangers of crystal methamphetamine. I also believe we're falling short on that end. And treatment. We have opioid treatment, but clearly not enough meth treatment. And of course, the meth problem, as the young professionals of the Guam Chamber of Commerce are well aware, has led to a drastic increase in crime. Our people don't feel safe. As I'm sure you guys know, the 2020 Uniform Crime Report, crime against businesses rose 28%, and the public does not feel safe. So those are 2 issues I think that I'm going to focus on. Also supporting and investing in our youth by fully funding education. And as you guys know, in the business community, youth sports and turn to you guys where government has fell short. I want to take it back to the days where government invested in our youth, because I believe investing in our youth is an investment that always pays off. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next up, we have Jonathan Tavares.
Hopefully, good morning. Thank you, Guam Young Professionals and the Guam Chamber of Commerce. My name is Jonathan Tavares. Everybody calls me John. I'm from the village of Derito, born and raised. I'm a product of the Guam public school systems. My mom is Mayor Tavares. I grew up in the village, helping the community, right? Helping the community from the get-go. When my mom decided to run, actually even before my mom decided to run, we were working with DYA, the Derito Resource Center. From there, my mom decided to run for vice mayor. And when she ran, she said, "This is not just about me. This is about all of us. This is a family endeavor because it takes a family to raise to help the community grow." And this is kind of the mentality that I want to take into the legislature, right? This is not about me. This is about all of us. I actually come from a long line of public servants My great grandfather is Vicente San Agustin Beneventi Middle School was named after my great grandfather. He was the last appointed commissioner of Derito and the first elected commissioner. When I get into my platform is my life story. I want to work with the mayors to create legislation to streamline the processes that they struggle with, junk car removals, grass cutting contracts, get things that affect the community on a daily basis to regulate it. Second, I was medically retired from the United States Army. I want to put resources, as we saw recently, there was burn pit research that came out and money came out from the federal government to support burn pits and make sure that veterans have the resources according to. Lastly, I've been a huge cannabis advocate, but I don't only want to advocate for cannabis as a plant. I want to advocate for the whole plant, from hemp to cannabis, and then looking at export ideas for hemp, because hemp is a federally legal crop that has crop insurance, and this is another agricultural product that we can actually send off island and create a new economic segment within our industry. I am Jonathan Savarez, number 6 on the Democratic side of the ballot, and I humbly ask for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Up next, we have Sarah Netadog.
Day. Can you all hear me? Because I don't think I can be seen at this point.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Thank you. Buenas and Day, everyone, and thank you for this wonderful opportunity to share a little bit about me as well as the other candidates. I am Sarah Thomas Netaduk. I was born and raised on Guam. I am a mother, a wife, a grandmother, and a sister, and a Nina to many. And I have worked in the field of human services, social services, for over 4 decades. And I've had the opportunity, and I always say the honor, of working with folks who have allowed me and my colleagues to be part of their lives and to help move them to another level and move them forward in their lives. So I've worked with couples youth. I've worked with senior citizens, with veterans, and persons with disabilities, and most populations. As I go forward in my life, I felt it was, a good opportunity this year to run for the position of senator. And I'd like to join my colleagues and others who are interested and who will be successful in this venture to help and advocate for our people rather. And our focus is going to be on improving laws that will focus on our youth, our troubled youth, our veterans, our senior citizens, as I spoke about earlier, and finding the ways and means to make their lives that much better. We've got programs out there already, and I think we certainly can improve and expand on that. And I look forward to working with our colleagues should I be elected to the Guam Legislature. I am number 21 on the Democratic side.
Thank you, Sarah. Up next, we have John Ananich.
Hafaday, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, Hafaday, thank you to the Guam Chamber of Commerce. Thank you to the GYP for hosting this event. My name is John Ananich, and for those who don't know me, I am a son of Guam. Ananich is not necessarily a local last name, but my Chamorro heritage actually comes from the Paris Ogden family, the Cadensu Macaca family. I grew up in Ipao and Jigo, and currently I reside in Derito. I've had the opportunity to serve our community, both as a police officer and as an Army infantryman. I served a tour in Afghanistan, and I'm a combat veteran, and currently now I'm a small business owner. I'm running for senator because, crime is running rampant on Guam, and it seems like criminals feel like it's open season in the community. Every day we hear, that somebody's been assaulted, businesses have been burglarized, residents have been burglarized, people are getting picked up for possession of illegal narcotics. I mean, there's a war going on out there, and our people are in trouble. And, You know, as a protector, as a person that served, I can no longer stand on the sidelines and hide in the shadows and do nothing about the situation. You know, we need to take back our streets and neighborhoods from the criminal minded. We need to instill fear in those that wish us harm. You know, and we need to take back our island and make it the beautiful island, you know, the paradise that we remember it to be. You know, it's a shame what it's become. So, you know, I'm asking for your vote of confidence to allow me to serve you one more time, but this time as, you know, as your senator. You know, I will push legislation to make Guam safe. I will ensure that we hold these criminals accountable for their actions. You know, no more sweetheart deals, no more plea deals, no more get out of jail free cards for violent predators, no more slaps on the wrist for sexual offenders. We need to change the law and make the penalties, you know, the Title IX GCA, make the penalties so severe that the criminal minded think twice before trying to harm our people. You know, again, I'm John Ananich, number 14 on the Democratic side of the ballot, and I see all these wonderful Democratic people up here, and man, you guys are great. You guys, I would love to work with all of you. Democrats the way, Viva Democrat. But you know, I'm going to confidently ask for one of your votes because these aren't humble times, Guam. These are times for change, and it's time to act, and the time is now. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And last but not least, we have David Dueñas. David online. Looking now. David, if you are there, you are muted and we cannot hear you. Okay. Okay. Probably having some technical difficulties, so let's go ahead and get into the meat of the forum, and that's the questions. Again, just to remind all of the candidates, today you will be given 1 minute and 30 seconds to fill the response to the question that is being posed to you. And again, this is by just random lottery. Oh, sorry, was that David? Okay, let's mute that real quick. Again, if you are not responding, please go ahead and mute your mic, or we can mute for you. And let's get started. Thank you so much again. We have a full house, so we'll go through these questions very swiftly. Question number 1. Today, voters are growing increasingly concerned with the rising cost of living. More families have expressed that they are fast approaching the point where they can no longer afford to reside in Guam. What specific plans do you have to directly address their concern and support struggling residents? And this question will be posed to Speaker Chulaki, Sarah Nedadog, and John Ananich. We'll start with Speaker Chulaki.
Thank you. I've been concerned about the increases, food prices, utilities, and other daily expenses families are struggling with right now. Created a strain on our residents, preventing them from taking good care of instances and housing and all other aspects of their lives, especially for those families who are most vulnerable. So I was the first in this term to propose eliminating liquor to provide relief to gas consumers. I've also passed legislation to ensure savings from our BPT bond refinancing was used to distribute food. Also ensured scholarships at UOG that are mandated by statute that we can expand our teachers, nurses, and social workers and help them to pay for this education. And an amendment that extended the 3% BPT to small businesses implemented retroactively, and that means 10 months earlier than what would have originally been. And I think we keep looking at how through CLTC and infrastructure in the large tracts of land so that we can build more homes. I think this is critical for our families at this time.
Thank you. Sarah Nedadog.
Yes, Hafaday. I'm primarily concerned about our folks that are struggling as well. And I would like to take a look at what we can do to get more programs at the village level. In other words, I like to see more folks that are trained and certified in behavioral health, substance abuse, as well as getting folks to work very closely with our mayors and expanding programs at the village level. So I see that, going forward, that we would have more social work programs and improve our education for persons that are interested in behavioral health and substance abuse, and getting more programs at the village level rather than having them in our offices and in those centralized programs, but more at the village level. Thank you.
Thank you. John, go ahead.
Yes, I actually live on Guam, and I'm one of those residents that you talk about in that question. Prices are it's really high, and it's kind of hard to to live on Guam. But what we need to look at is we need to look at how we can lower the prices down. And I think ways we can do that is one with renewable energy. Solar power. We need to make it more accessible for people, and we need to make it more affordable so that people can actually get solar panels on their house and cut that one bill. The bill for power can be used for other necessities. But what we also need to do is we need to sustain Guam. Our agriculture and our aquaculture areas. We need to build that, because if we can sustain ourselves at least with our food, then we don't have to import it, and the prices of food won't be so high. So I would say that we would look at rebuilding our agriculture and aquaculture, and helping out the farmers so that the price of food can go down, and then have access to solar panels. I mean, most of the solar panels that you get in the U.S. come from China, and China is right next door. So I don't see why the prices of a solar panel or a solar system in our homes cost so much. So I think we just need to make it affordable to our people. That way we can, we can cut the power costs, so we can use that money for other bills, and then, build up our agriculture and aquaculture, so that we can sustain ourselves and not have to pay ridiculous prices for the food we eat. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and move on to question number 2. Okay. Privatization, outsourcing, and/or public-private partnerships are terms most people do not understand how they are implemented. If elected, would you support any of these options for government services or autonomous agencies? And if so, which entity or entities would you pursue? This question is for Will Parkinson, John Suarez, and David Duenas. We'll start with Will. Still on.
Hello. Sorry about that. I was speaking and muting. My apologies. But no, when I think about the problem of public-private partnerships, I like to go back in history and look at previous examples of how it worked. And one of the oldest public-private partnerships is in tax collection. This goes back as far as the Romans, where the Romans had private tax collectors go out there, and when the tax collection, when their lives depend on it with these private businesses, those taxes will get collected. I think about things like the cigarette tax. We had problems with collections there. If we had a private-public partnership, I think those taxes would get collected if it meant the life or death of these businesses. So, I want to look at other things like that, but that's my biggest example is the tax collection. That's where I'd like to employ it the most.
Thanks, Will. Go ahead and pass it over to John Suarez.
Hopefully, thank you for the question. So yes, and yes. I believe that we need to evaluate privatization and at least a look at privatization of an entity. We did this with GTA. GTA was privatized, and then we saw healthy competition and free market come up when GTA was privatized, right? Saw other carriers creating new demographics and opening up more services to the community. Outsourcing. I want to look at outsourcing certain government services, especially when we look at parks and recs, for the maintenance of our park facilities, especially not just for our tourists, but for our people. Because if we maintain our parks, more people are going to come out and want to utilize our parks. And lastly, of course, when we look at public-private partnerships, We see this hugely every year, multiple times a year. The Island Beautification Task Force is a huge public-private partnership that happens on an annual basis, multiple times a year, where different entities come out, adopt, and take care of certain areas. And this is things that I want to make sure that we can provide resources for that, right? Because really the reality is the mayors still have to go and pick up the trash and work on the trash collection after these things are taken care of. And we need to make sure if we outsource the maintenance of these facilities, we will outsource the maintenance of these facilities on a regular basis. At least the trash is not going to be piled up and dumped on because it's going to be regulated on a regular basis. Thank you for the time and the question.
Thank you, Will and John. Go ahead and move on to question number 3. Would you support converting the business privilege tax to a sales tax? And if so, what would be your timelines to accomplish this goal? This question is for Fred Bordalio Jr. and Darryl Chris Barnett. Start with Fred. Oh, you are on mute. Try now. Still can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I like it. I like the business privilege tax. I don't want to convert the business privilege tax to a sales tax, and this is the reason why. And I remember, you know, when I was going to a class at University of Guam, taking macro and microeconomics, and looking at the overall signs of when an economy is healthy or not. And one of the ways is looking at how the businesses can be able to afford to run and operate. And when I look at sales taxes, you know, those are really, they impact the consumers, right? And sometimes they can actually, there's a fear factor to with consumers whenever they're at the, you know, whenever they see increases in sales tax. Right now, I think sales tax is at 2%. I actually want to eliminate the sales tax and keep on the business privilege tax, but just make sure it's affordable as we look at the government services, balancing that with the government services, the reports that each of the government agencies give, and also Bureau of the Bureau of Planning, and also the BBMR. What's the budget of the government of Guam? What are their financial reports? Thank you for that.
Thank you, Fred.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead. Chris still on. Okay, that's okay. We'll go ahead and pass that question on to Roy Kanata. Oop. Not there either. You are on mute, Roy.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, so what was the question again? Number 3, right?
Yeah.
Would you support BPT tax to sales tax? Yes. I think transparency, I believe transparency begins with and ends with sales tax. I think we can capture more funding and more resources if we convert ourselves into a sales tax, because everything will be reported. Example, you purchase a Pepsi, you'll have a tax directly added to that purchase. Everyone would have to report that. Even cash business, there's a lot of cash business operations out there that are all like skimming their way through the government. And I understand that there are some small business operations that are just trying to get their feet started with business, but a lot of other businesses are also trying to scheme their way through the government to pay minimal and avoid taxes. So I would support it. I think there still needs to be a lot of exploration and more data triggering facts to be based into this proposal if brought onto the table. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see that we have Chris back online. Chris, did you hear the question or do you need me to repeat it? Chris, are you there?
I am here. Thank you. Sorry, it said I was muted by organizer. Convert business privilege tax to a sales tax? Hell no. Going back to question number one, you asked us what specific plans you have to directly address voters' concerns about the rising cost of living. Well, I think first of all, taxes, bad. And I think we also need to put a moratorium on fee increases in government. And I believe that, you know, the relationship with businesses and the government throughout the pandemic has been very adversarial. And so I want to sit the businesses down with the legislature and have an honest conversation without either side digging their heels in the sand. And I think that's really the only way to move forward.
Thank you, Chris. Alrighty, let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Do you support the rollback of the BPT to 4%? If so, how will you ensure government services are not negatively impacted? And this question is for Senator Sabina Perez and Roy Gamboa. We'll start with you, Senator Perez.
Thank you for that question. And so, as you know, we've this for about 90% of the Dave Santos Act revisions. In regards to rolling back the BPT to 4%, I think if we can find a funding source to offset the reduction of the BPT, I would assess in supporting it. I think one of the avenues to potentially gain this offset or to achieve the revenue is to assess the use tax, which according to the public auditors, we're under collecting about $60 million plus. That 60 million can go towards reduction in taxes and potentially also other needs to our community, whether it's unemployment insurance or healthcare. So this is something that I'm open to looking at based on the information and collection of other taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Perez. Roy Gamboa, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I don't believe I can support the rollback, only because I believe already 90% of small businesses have already been rolled back. So further rolling it back would mean the 10% of companies that make more than $500,000 a year would get that benefit of rolling it back from 5 back down to 4. What this would do is put a heavier burden again on small businesses to remain open and keep the island in a very competitive state. I support the small businesses and what they try to do, provide services and products that are competitive with some of the other large corporations. So as it stands right now, I believe we can continue to, this is where I agree with Senator Sabina Perez, where we can take a look at other ways to increase revenues coming into the government. That way more services can be provided by our government agencies. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Perez and Roy. Alrighty, let's move on to the next question. Quality healthcare on island is vital for a healthy economy, and more importantly, it is important for our island residents. What would be your legislative plans and priorities for improving the management and services of the Guam Memorial Hospital? And this question is for Kelly Marsh-Tysono and Alex Duenas. We'll start with Kelly. Kelly, you are muted.
Okay, great. Yes, I also had the muted by the organizer. So one of the things that I've really learned as I've gotten older, and definitely during this pandemic, is that health and family are everything, and one cannot undervalue the importance of it. So I've paid special attention to these kind of issues and taken them very seriously. As a senator, I requested that GMH review and update their Medicaid scale of fees, because the more money coming in, the better it is for the health of the hospital and the health of all of us. I also supported the creation of a task force to assess the viability of the hospital being improved, or whether we as a community needed a new approach, a new hospital, or some other means. And I also supported that the hospital acquire new software to maintain its records, including improving its collections. So with those sorts of things that I would continue to support, I'd like to see us expand our community healthcare. Let's make healthcare more accessible by getting clinics and triage centers into the community, which also makes healthcare more cost effective because it lessens our need to go to the hospital. So with these kind of measures, I also commit myself to ensuring that GMH remains a viable hospital to serve the needs of our community. As our only public hospital, for many, it's their only real choice. And to do that, while we have a new hospital, I do believe, and reports and assessments by the Army Corps of Engineers support that we need a new hospital. And let's build on that by also having it be a healthcare center.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Kelly. Go ahead and respond, Alex.
All right, thank you for the question. My position on this is that I would like to have it so that we look at the very top. So what do I mean by that? I mean that currently we have a hospital administrator that did a fantastic job through COVID. You know, I mean, very experienced woman, fantastic. However, as political regimes change, so does the person at the very top. And I think in order to build a sustainable culture, to build a sustainable workflow, to build, you know, institutional knowledge, things of that nature, the hospital administrator position should not be an appointed position and free of political influence, but one that is on a contractual basis like any other CEO or any other C-suite executive. Because with that, then you're going to be able to have an individual who has a proven track record running hospitals or hospital-like structures or outpatient centers or things of that nature. And that's something that could be used to really be able to have us going directly, fully forward with the benefit of the hospital, for the benefit of the people, and serve what it's supposed to be serving, as opposed to, you know, having this kind of balance of, okay, so the tide is going to change this year, the tide is going to change next year. And if we're going to building this, then we need to create an environment in which it could be built. And that will be my primary objective to move forward with that, because everything starts from the top. The tone is set from the top, and from the top we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly and Alex, for your responses. We'll go ahead and move on to the next question. We are having some video issues with the timekeeper cam, and so just be mindful that when you hear the bell, that's when you should be stopping your response, and we'll be moving on to the next candidate. Okay, thank you so much. So next question is, I'll read it out first and then I'll let you know who is going to respond. Home ownership remains elusive on Guam due to low inventory, high purchase prices, and rising interest rates. What policy ideas do you have to support residents in purchasing a home? What initiatives would you introduce to support first-time homeowners? And this question is for Dwayne St. Nicholas and Fred Berdalio Jr. We'll start with Dwayne.
Hello, you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so, you know, the reason why I was able to purchase a home was because I did it through the VA. And so there are things out there that you can take advantage, like for example, the first-time home buyers, which doesn't require a down. So if you're looking to buy a house and you're a first-time home buyer, you want to not own a property, because that's what makes it very difficult, or a home, to actually try to invest. My dad kind of put me on a spot when he gave me a home, because when I went to apply for a home, for a new home loan, I couldn't, because he kind of put me on a spot, because now I wasn't a first-time home buyer. But there are already things in place that allow people to purchase homes economically. Unfortunately for us, we cannot control interest rates on Guam, and interest rates are going to be continuing to rise right now to stop inflation. But I just encourage everybody to try to gain an employment that puts you ahead of inflation. That way you're able to purchase the properties or anything on Guam. And so get a job, get an education, get a job that puts you ahead of inflation. That way you can keep up with inflation as time goes on. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwayne. Fred, go ahead. You are muted on your end, but we can try to unmute you on our end.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, I had an opportunity to go and look and attend the real estate forum and see that the price of homes really have increased. A lot of that also stems from the global pandemic and supply chain. And one interesting thing that I'm looking at right now is the Jones Act and how that affects prices for Guam and also affects all those that ship, from the construction materials that go up. A lot of us, even as candidates, can see even the rise of prices for even putting up our campaign signs. So even with building a home, I mean, part of one of my strategy is looking at an exemption, the Jones Act, that will affect affect the price for a lot of the business sector in home building and construction. And at the same time, look at the Guam Housing Corporation. What are their lending policies and what they can do to liberalize that to give some of our young adults the opportunity to get a loan at the Guam Housing Corporation and get a home for the first time, and land developers too. I'm also in support for that with the real estate, companies, to make sure that their cost is reduced so that they can also provide a little bit more supply of land for building of homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne and Fred. Okay, moving on to question number 7. To support the growth of new businesses and the expansion of current business activities, what plans do you have to improve the permitting process and improve the speed in which permit applications as well as plan reviews are processed? This question is for Senator Joe San Agustin and Roy Kanata. We'll start with Senator Joe.
Unmute. There you go. I know you should be able to hear me now. All right. As the budget chairman, I've supported efforts by all the agencies when they wanted to improve their processing to include permits such as revenue and taxation. Now they're online. You can file your taxes there. You can even register your vehicle. And if I'm correct, I even got driver's license. I think every agency should be setting up their process to be online, and that will speed it up. I know that on the permit side at DPW, some of the parts there are online, but we need to get the GovWam completely online and everything's gonna be processed. Just like folks going to the mayor's office, they need to get the mayor's certification. We'll get it online and then send it to them and they verify it because the information they have all the information. And with that, and if they needed additional funding as the budget chair, I would support that. And I'm almost sure all my colleagues would have supported that because it's about helping the people of Guam and getting business, keeping business in business because it controls the economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Joe. Roy, go ahead. No, I cannot hear you, but I saw you talking. We'll try unmuting you on our end. Just a second. Try now.
Okay, thank you. Can you repeat the question?
The question was, to support the growth of new business and the expansion of current business activities, what plans do you have to improve the permitting process and improve the speed in which permit applications as well as plan reviews are processed?
So I think in the sense of business permits, I think streamlining it with e-government initiatives will be the fastest way we can expedite any permit process. And I think we are in the 21st century. Technology advances, and I think our people should advance with that, with more e-government initiatives. I think with the permitting of like building and infrastructure and all those things, there has to be stringent process for developments just to ensure that they're meeting those criterias and ensure that we're not disturbing ancestral remains or ruining possible future developments or flooding areas that are nearby that are already there, right? So that's my thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Joe and Roy Kanata. Okay, moving on to the next question. Number 8. True prosperity only occurs by growing the economy. What actions will you implement to expand further growth in the economy? This question is for John Ananich, Sarah Nedadog, and Speaker Terlahi. We'll start with John.
All right, thank you for that question. There's a lot of things, and growing the economy again, it's amazing how this ties back to the last question that you asked. The agriculture and aquaculture, standing those up, being able to self-sustain ourselves, it actually, it increases our ability to afford things and basically will help grow the economy. However, we can also diversify. Taiwan right now actually happens to be the leading industry in the microchip business, and they just so happen to be our neighbors. So I would say let's reach out. Everyone talks about diversification. Well, let's reach out a $1 billion industry and bring them to Guam and have them manufacture the microchip right here on Guam. I mean, we're talking about a state-of-the-art, a new technology, a new company, and they're the leading company in the world, and they're our neighbors. So I would reach out to Taiwan and say, hey, we have a lot of excess government land. Why don't you bring over a manufacturing business here, and it will definitely boost the economy. I mean, it'll add 300 plus jobs and make us the forefront, the forefront of leading technology, and make us, a place that actually manufactures $1 billion industry. So that's what I would do, because they're our neighbors, and they actually happen to be the #1 leading organization when it comes to the microchip. So thank you for the question.
Thank you, John. Next to respond is Sarah.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, thank you for the question. And of course, when as a person who's been in the field of human services and social services, the first thing that comes to my mind when we talk about growing the economy is that we have to have a very capable and healthy and well-trained and educated workforce. So, I mean, we have to have people who are ready to assume those responsibilities in growing our economy. And I think the best way to do that is to ensure that we promote, education from, of course, pre-K all the way up, and ensure that we have folks who will be dedicated to lifelong learning. Having said that, I really do support agriculture and organic farming. I've been very much involved in that in previous work with nonprofits. And I think that that's really going to be the way forward, is for us to look internally at what our resources and our assets are here on Guam. I think that through the pandemic, we saw that we were very dependent on external resources. And so doing whatever we can to take a look at what are our assets here on Guam, what are some of the things that we can do here to help promote the economy without such a great dependence on external resources. I also believe that moving forward, that getting nonprofits and getting the private sector also more involved in growing our economy is going to be important. So how is it that we can support these entities in the private sector, the private nonprofit, as well as the private businesses, so that they can be further prepared to do so? And I think looking at their HR certification and excuse me?
Oh, sorry, the time is up for your response.
All right. So, thank you. Mm-hmm.
Okay, last but not least for this question will be Speaker Terlahi.
Thank you. I think good answers by my colleagues. Thank you. And but I agree. I think we need to continue to put money into our workforce development. We've done this through the Manpower Development Fund from the H2 fees, and we've put money towards GCC, UOG for retraining, and I think retraining in our industries where we have a years-long critical need for healthcare workers and other important workers, teachers, that we continue to fund those programs. We have invested in high-speed cable internet, and I've created a couple bills now that would help to grow that industry and to attract industry that rely on this high-speed cables. And I think creating a business-friendly environment overall is really the key, and we've done lots of things to do that, including reducing the BPT taxes, decreasing the liquid fuels taxes, directing money towards businesses, and the Chamber and GITA currently have these task forces for diversification of industry, and I serve on a couple of those, including the medical industry, and I think we should continue to support those efforts. Childcare has to continue. The governor has increased childcare, and I commend her for that. We need to continue that because that is going to also increase our workforce and make it a consistent workforce. But again, expanding critical infrastructure.
Thank you, Speaker Terlahi. Alrighty, moving on to the next question. Number 9, what are some areas that you believe can be reduced or eliminated from government control, outsourced, that will not have a bearing on the services the government of Guam provides? This question is for John Zavares and Will Parkinson. We'll start with John.
Hopefully, thank you for the question. One of the places that I want to look at outsourcing extremely is the mass transit system. We actually have multiple bus companies who run routes throughout this who were running routes throughout this island previous to the pandemic, and now their buses are actually dormant. They're sitting down in their lots, not being used because we don't have a tourism industry. Rather than doing that and letting it sit, we should work on outsourcing our transit system so we can get people, because gas is high. Let's not hide behind it. The rising cost of gas is not, it's affecting everybody on this island, no matter how much money you make. It's affecting each and every person on this island. So if we run if we can build the better mass transit system and outsource that to companies who have the mechanisms currently in place, and their mechanisms are not even being really used right now because the tourism industry is down. We can also work on looking at the Hawaii model, where they use the bus system, the transit system, to actually for kids going to school. This helps keep everybody moving, right? And then it takes something out of DPW's hands and gives them more the ability to focus on getting the services out that they need to do, road infrastructures, making sure that their mission over there at DPW is focused on exactly that, and then move it into professionals within the private sector who run these companies specifically for transportation. That's at least, especially with the economic decline, right? The gas price is not helping, and our people are struggling, and we need to help them get to work and make it accessible for them. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We'll go ahead and respond.
Hafide, thank you for the question. In terms of areas I could possibly see taken away from the government and putting into public-private partnership, obviously I talked about tax collection for wayward taxes, and I 100% agree with John Zavares about the transit system. When you put a business's fate on them being as efficient as possible, they will find the right way to do it. Other areas I think that we could possibly use privatization would be in maintenance contracts for our Department of Parks and Recs. Because for a lot of those places, like the Parks and Recs has been gutted of funding over the years. So if we're not going to fund Parks and Recs, which I am in favor of to keep our island beautiful, then we got to find something. And I'm open to the idea of private maintenance contracts for a lot of our assets.
Thank you, Will and John. Okay, moving on to question number 10. A quality education system is important to our community. With the impending hiring of a new superintendent of education and election of new Board of Education members, please provide specific legislative objectives you would offer to support the education department. Will any of these objectives that you will speak of require the increasing of any taxes for implementation? This question will be posed to Chris and Senator Perez. We'll start with Chris.
Thank you very much for the question. Well, let's just keep it simple. I think to support a quality education system, we have to first start by fully funding education. You talk to any of the stakeholders, that's their biggest gripe year after year, election after election. We hear the kids come first, the children, this and that, but when it comes to the budget, education hasn't been fully funded. So that's something that I pledge to do if elected. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Senator Perez.
Thank you for that question. And this is something that's been very in the foremost of my mind. And one of the things that I've been working with the major educational stakeholders is the implementation of magnet schools. And what this would do, it would basically expand the GCC model where they can increase the different offerings of apprenticeship programs or pre-apprenticeship programs. So if an individual graduates, they can be segued directly into a paying job and hopefully a livelihood, in addition to gaining the much needed expertise at the same time. And this happens in other countries like Germany, and this is something that I'm working hard to advocate for. The other thing that I would like to see is more interventions happening at before school age. So some studies show that literacy, basically there's a gap between those literate poor households and literate rich households, which affects the success of students in school. And so I really would like to promote earlier intervention in students before school age. In regards to paying for this, I think there's room for repurposing some of the consolidated grants, which I've been in communication with the different stakeholders, and I see a lot of support because it was included in their recent 5-year strategic plan. Whereas in 3 years, the goal of Guam Department of Education is to increase graduating students into these programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris and Senator Perez. Okay, question number 11. Considering the importance of small businesses towards our economic base, what are your policy ideas to incentivize or grow small business activity on island? This question is for Roy Gamboa and Fred Bordalio Jr. We'll start with Roy.
Awesome, thank you very much. Yes, small businesses are vital to our island's economic growth and development. I was very happy to see that the LLC license fees were reduced from $1,000 to $250. But more importantly, what I think is we need to set up an association to assist these small businesses. Oftentimes there are small businesses that might consist of a husband and a wife, they're engineers or they're professionals, and it can be quite taxing on them to afford medical insurance. And so by creating something very similar to what the Guam Contractors Association has done is establish a wide association to include all small businesses meeting certain thresholds. This way they can take advantage of reducing some overhead expenses through the association, working together to help each other out with resources. Many times one company, and yes, we're all competitive, but many times, sometimes just to fulfill the order for the customer in the end, it is always good to work with similar businesses of similar products to help each other out. I've been there, I've seen that happen. And for our island, I think it's gonna benefit everyone with the small business industry here on the island of Guam. We've also got to take a look and diversify some of the other products that we have here and introduce those new businesses to the island by means of technology, which is obviously the wave of the future. We can definitely set up a lot of these other small businesses for our island. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Fred, your response?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Part of my, my campaign to secure the future of the families is one of my objectives is to stand up a small business advocacy group. My wife recently completed her doctorate in business administration and entrepreneurship, and sometimes gives me some of these ideas. And some of my family members have worked in, I have a brother who works as an electrical company, his own business company, and another restaurant that sort of closed down because of the pandemic. And when I stand up this small business advocacy group, I want to address some of the issues that hinder their ability to sustain their business. To sustain business, they need customers, and they need to make sure that if they don't have customers, that's when a business fails. And one of the other things too I want to work on in order to make sure they can sustain their business is really look at their employees and workforce development and provide incentives. If that even means tax reduction on them and incentives like that, that's what I'm going to be committed to as a policymaker in the 37 Guam Legislature. I see small businesses as the engine of the economy, and entrepreneurship is something that's being driven even in our high schools, where my wife is teaching right now at the Guam Community College. And these are one of the things that I'm also going to look at, because it's a link between education and business. And that's the factor that makes it a little bit more achievable for the objectives that I'm going to carry out. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy and Fred. Move on to the next question. How would you use your role as a policymaker to entice new industries or diversification, economic development to Guam? This question is for Alex and Kelly. We'll start with Alex.
All right, thank you for the question, and it's a great question because it leads basically into my platform. When we're going to try to create an industry, or we're trying to create a sector or a subsector, we have to create a hospitable environment in order for them to grow, right? So, I mean, the top of the head type of answer that I would be able to come up with is like how it worked for our tourism industry. We offer qualifying certificates for industries that we have an appetite for, that we're interested in, at least courting, and we offer that environment for them, that this is something that you can grow because of the byproduct of the jobs that will be produced from the industry. Now, when I'm talking about the industry specifically, I'm talking about industries that we have to brand specifically because we're an island-based economy. So I'm thinking of entry-level jobs such as call centers, but branded as a US-based call center, or a tech center branded as a US-based tech center. There is a market for these types of industries, and that's what I was looking at in terms of creating this type of industry or this sector. But I think that is very important to differentiate that we need to look at what's growing an industry versus growing a few businesses. Growing a business or two that's small in size is not really growing an industry. So if we're going to be making an effort to grow an industry, I think we need to use governmental policy in tandem with the resources that we have to be able to create this industry or industries. Thank you very much.
Alex. Kelly, your response, please.
Okay, great. I'm unmuted. So this is something that means a lot to me, and I'd like to continue the work that I was doing in this direction. I was very proud to have oversight of the Guam Product Seal. I consider this one of our unrecognized gems. So while I was in the legislature, I passed legislation that updated and streamlined the task force that oversees the Guam Product Seal, and I strengthened the protection of the Guam brand. I believe that there's so much more that we can do to improve and build up the Guam Product Seal. It may surprise people to hear that it's responsible, at least pre-pandemic, for over 700 jobs, and some of the companies have grown from being a small company to having annual budgets of over $1 million. We also have entities like GUMA that are incubators for helping develop our small, locally owned businesses, and I would continue to support them. Some of what I was also doing that needs to be finished is working to protect the intellectual property of local entrepreneurs, artisans, and the tomorrow culture. I also wrote a law that created the Intra-Regional Commerce Commission to build upon and strengthen our economic potential as an island and a region. So while the law is there, it has not yet been impaneled. So I want to get in there and make sure it is impaneled so that we are working together as a region with Taiwan and other areas. So thank you for that question. I want to do more of that kind of work.
Thank you, Kelly and Alex. Okay, question number 13. How do you propose we resolve or improve our workforce development and or vocational training, not only for the anticipated growth in the military buildup, but also for island residents to attain more opportunities in the local job market? This question is for John Ananich and Dwayne Nicholas. We'll start with John.
Yes, thank you for that question. That is a great question, especially in the midst of this pandemic. So GCC started a boot camp, and what this boot camp did was it allowed a lot of people that were in the hotel industry that didn't have other skills. It allowed them to go and learn a new skill and get a job. What I would like to do is actually expand on that. I mean, every time GCC holds a boot camp, those positions are filled right away, meaning that the demand is there, but we can't really reach out to everybody. So I would expand GCC's boot camp and do more of that. Charter schools are great also. Expand the charter schools so that people learn a trade. So if they're not going to go to college, at least when they graduate, they can move on into the business industry and actually get a career and not just a job, right? So the GCC boot camp, I mean, they already did it. It's already happening, and I think we just need to expand that and allow more people the opportunity to take advantage of it, because every time it opens up, it fills up real quick. And I think if we expand it, we'll be able to help more of our community. Thank you for that question. Great question.
Thank you, John. Dwayne, your response, please.
Oh, God, help me.
Dwayne, are you there?
All right. Okay, there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I wanted to answer the other previous questions, but okay, I'll take this one instead. Okay, so I was up at GCC about a week ago because we were going to donate some supplies to the veterans place, and I have to tell you, I'm so impressed, with the level of delivery that GCC has up there. I mean, if you just want to just go up there and get a trade, just go on up there and go to school and stuff like that. But everything is in place. The one thing that we have to understand about the economy, and I've always understood this ever since I was a kid. Here in Guam, it's 165, and then everybody else moves away to find another job. We need to understand that growing the economy, also you need a growing population. It's very hard to grow an economy when your population is steady at 165 for decades. So maybe that's for another radio show. But in terms of education and the facilities are there, the delivery is there with GCC, and it's a wonderful opportunity for everybody, including our brothers and sisters in the FSA. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Dwayne, and thank you, John. Alrighty, we'll go ahead and move on to question number 14. According to the 2020 Uniform Crime Report published by the Guam Police Department, crimes against businesses rose 28% when compared to the previous year. What specific policy initiatives would you pursue to promote a safer Guam? This question is for Senator Joe San Agustin and Roy Canata. Start with Senator San Agustin.
Thank you for that question. I've been in contact with the administration to create and implement the Village Safety Officer Program to augment the work of the Guam Police Department. This will help our people feel safer and deter crime. GPP has been successful when they instituted a similar program for Tuan. That's the Visitor Safety Officer Program. And I honestly believe that if we have the Village Safety Officer Program, it'll augment the Guam Police Department in the areas they can't cover, and we just move on from there, because we do have the Police Reserve, we have the CAPE program, but there are many programs. But I honestly believe the Village Safety Officer Program could work great for the villages, and it'll promote and bring some peace and some safety for our people. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator San Agustin. This is for Roy Canata next. You are muted. Let me try this. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think if we're specifically trying to engage the business community, I think unfortunately you just have to invest in your own private security, because as a legislative branch, a third branch, we're here and we're in the business to protect the people as a whole. As much as we would love to specifically put GPD officers at your businesses or at your what do you call it? Sorry, your businesses. We can't do that. We just need to invest more in our security forces and our police department, and invest in probably the morale, because you have to make sure that the law enforcement agency is attractive and it keeps people wanting to return back to the force. Because if people don't find it attractive and we don't have any incentives for them to stay on board, they're going to exit. They're going to find other opportunities out there for themselves. So, you know, a lot of them are already overworked and tired. Their families are overworked as well. So I think we need to invest more in our law enforcement agency and ensure that they can serve all the businesses and all the people of Guam. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Roy. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Do you support a part-time legislature? Why or why not? This question is for Speaker Terlahi and Chris Barnett.
All right, thank you.
Oop. Who is muting her? Try that now. Good.
Okay. All right, thank you for that question. I do not support legislature. I don't think moving to part-time is going to produce the results that proponents think that it will. It's going to weaken the legislature's ability to be a true check and balance to both branches, and to serve. Members of the legislature must meet the demands and high expectations that constituents. While I don't think it should be a place to build a career, public policy for Guam benefits greatly from diverse communities stepping up to public service after much experience in government, business, raising families on Guam. It's physically not possible to truly hold the executive branch accountable or to have proper oversight of agencies, looking at them only part. I think legislatures must become intimately familiar with the years-long problems that were not resolved by quick fix legislation, and they must take the time to study the improvements, and listening part-time is not good representation. I think we cannot afford to have legislature leaders misled on how government works, or they have to be familiar with what has been tried before and have the perseverance to try different successful. Most importantly, I think legislature two masters. They must serve all the people of Guam all the time, and notwithstanding interests or special interests. That's the biggest challenge I think that's facing the Guam legislature today. So serving full-time and on legislative duties only, I think offers a temporary insulation from undue pressure from employers or others, and honors the entire community.
Thank you, Speaker Terlahi. Chris, your response?
Thank you for that question. I'm totally opposed to a part-time legislature. In fact, I think we need to go back to 21 senators. Just to expand on the speaker's points, when you talk about the legislature being the people's house, representing the people's voice, with just 15 senators, too much power is concentrated in too few hands. And grassroots people who want to run for office are left, I mean, they don't have the option to do it. I mean, it takes anywhere from $100,000 and up to safely secure a seat in the legislature, and I don't think that's right. I think we don't need less representation. We're not facing part-time problems. I mean, the problems we're facing, I think it warrants a return to 21 senators. And before you guys come for me, just realize that the legislative budget, when you look at the whole government budget, it's really just a drop in the bucket. And so we've kind of fallen into the habit of demonizing our senators in the Guam legislature, but like Speaker said, I think the checks and balances is one of the most important roles, and I'm not sure that we're getting the most bang for our buck with 15 senators. And I definitely agree that, I believe that we need to go back to 21 for more representation for not just our people, you know, the businesses too. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Terlahi and Chris, for your responses. That concludes the pre-developed questionnaire for this part of the forum, but now I'll hand it over to Charlie to pose questions from our participants and also from our audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, panelists, senators, and candidates. So we do have some time left. We are going to run all the way through to 11 o'clock a.m. So we do have previously posed questions from our last audience, and so we're going to pose that to you folks today. Each member will actually have 1 minute only, so please pay attention to Cam as he'll hold up the 1 minute marker remaining. Please listen out for the bell and look out for your stop signal. The next question that we have is, what are your action plans to help grow back our tourism arrival numbers to 2019 arrival numbers or pre-pandemic arrival numbers? We're going to give this question to Sarah Netadog and to Dwayne Sinicus. You have 1 minute. Sarah?
Hafaday, I'm really having struggling here with getting on this phone. I hope you guys can hear me at this point.
Loud and
Yep.
clear. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So can you repeat the question? I'm kind of going back and forth and looking at several things, so I apologize for that. Can you just please repeat the question?
Certainly. Your action plans to grow back tourist arrival numbers pre-pandemic.
Okay. Yes. I think, first of all, this is going to really necessitate a regional collaborative response. I think we really need to get in sync with our other island leaders and folks in the region of Micronesia as well as in Asia. So I think having those discussion and that dialogue with developing joint partnerships is going to be critical as we move forward to doing this. We want to keep all of our people safe as we have more folks coming into Guam or returning to Guam. And we certainly know that, our primary revenue source over the decades has been tourism. So we want to return to that, but we also need to make sure that we keep our families and our community safe. And I think most importantly, it's not just about us here on Guam, but we also need to collaborate and have joint discussions and partnerships and agreements with folks in Micronesia as well as in Asia. Thank you.
Sarah. Dwayne, you have 1 minute.
Hi, it's me again. Cam, give me 2 minutes. Just kidding. Okay, so, I went from I was a customs officer for a long time. And so I saw trends, when I first started, it was a massive Japanese influx of tourism. And then it went from Japanese to Korean. So as the economy switched, you see these trends and then the type of tourists that were arriving. What we need to do is we need to stay on top of these trends so that way we can, we can better plan for them. One thing I saw was even with the Philippines, it went from family-based travel to now it became more of a tourism travel with the Philippines. Why? Because their economy has gotten better over time. So we need to stay on top of trends so we can look 10, 20 years ahead. Because also with the Japanese, what happened was they went from a post World War II traveler to now a more modern Korean based growth in their economy type traveler. So we need to stay ahead of trends. That way we can chart a course for the future.
Thanks a lot, Dwayne. The next question I'd like to hear from Will Parkinson, Fred Bordalio, and John Savares. Your question is, what plans do you have to offer to enhance or improve our island destination to continue attracting our Japanese and Korean tourists to visit? You have 1 minute, and we'll hear from Will Parkinson first.
Well, thank you for that question. One of the things I think we need to really embrace to bring back, to make Guam a real hotspot in Asia, is to embrace cannabis tourism. Not just recreational cannabis tourism, but medicinal cannabis tourism. When the Industry Act was passed, we heard from all over the place that it was going to kill tourism. But lo and behold, before the pandemic, after cannabis was passed, we saw record numbers we had never seen before. So I think if we were to get the industry up and running, not only would we get back to record tourism numbers, we would have medicinal tourists who would be staying longer. And the average medicinal tourist across the country stays like 30 days and spends a significant amount of money more than just a recreational user. So, you know, it's a powerful cash crop, and it's a huge tourist dangle for people in the area. So that's how I would bring back our pre-pandemic tourist numbers.
Thank you, Will. We will hear now from Fred Bordalio. You have 1 minute, sir. Fred? I think you're on mute, sir.
Okay, thank you for that. I used to be the precinct commander in Tumon, and I could easily see and recognize when a lot of our Japanese tourists are present. And of course, the pandemic affected tourism, but I have confidence in the Guam Visitors Bureau on the board, and to include the president, Governor Gutierrez, former Governor Gutierrez, and all the dedicated employees there that are looking at the Japanese market and just fine tuning some of the tasks that they could do to ensure Japanese return back. And that's why one of the things, not just the Japanese tourists, but all the other tourism markets, to do that, we have to market Guam about making sure that we're a safe destination for them. And we have to make sure that we also sort of like survey them as they're leaving. And that's being done to see what their experience was. And sometimes what that is just having Guam's showcase some of the talent that we have in our music and entertainment industry, and some of the natural beauties that we have, to keep Guam clean, taking care of our environment. And that's the key, because that gives a lot, that goes a long way when they go back to their home to say how good Guam was cleaned and everything was really beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. John?
Huff a day. Thank you for the question. Actually, I'm just going to elaborate a little bit, because I've been in that conversation with the Japan Medical Marijuana Association, the one that the program that for medical cannabis tourism that Will was alluding to, for the last 5 years now. What they want to do is actually they want to bring 10% of their patient base, which is 1.5. Their total patient base is 1.5 million people, and they want to send 10% of their patient base to Guam for medical cannabis tourism. They're looking at 2 to 4 weeks at a time. This would filling more rooms during times that are usually dormant, right? We know during the week we see drop off in hotel occupancy. This is closing that gap. This is also keeping more people on ground here and actually it's re-incentivizing people to travel to Guam by creating a whole new tourism segment. 1.5 million people come, 150,000 tourists here for 2 to 4 weeks, changes the complete the dynamic of how we look at tourism. And this is not traveling for recreational. This is actually traveling for a need. If we change the way we look at tourism and the demographic that we should be chasing, on our island, we saw people leave for medical throughout the pandemic. And this is what I've been trying to do for the last 5 years. I've been trying to get JMMA here to Guam to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We're going to move on to our next question. We'd like to raise this to Senator Perez, to Kelly Marsh Taitano, and to Roy Gamboa. Your question is, we have tourists coming back to Guam. What can the legislature do to clean up our island of debris and unsightly abandoned vehicles and the like? We will first hear from Senator Sabina Perez. Senator, your minute starts now.
Okay, well, thank you for that question. And this is something that I'm working hard at. Currently, I introduced and passed legislation to increase enforcement capability, to include all law enforcement agencies, as well as provide more resources to Guam EPA. Currently, there's only 4 personnel at Guam EPA that can enforce illegal dumping. And so this is really critical. The other thing is we need to perhaps relook at the laws in regards to, I believe some of my colleagues have already introduced legislation which needs to get onto the floor regarding abandoned vehicles. But we definitely need to streamline that process, because one of the challenges is that these cars get passed on to other owners without proper registration. And so we need to somehow streamline that process so that we can immediately address this. Another issue has been the lack of a storage space to place these vehicles. And I believe this is currently what our administration is looking at and something that I'd support in finding locations. And also I've introduced the Zero Waste Act, which would address and address this issue as far as storage. Masi.
Thank you, Senator. We will next hear from Kelly Marsh Teitzno.
So thank you so much for this question, because it is something I care very much about and worked really hard on when I was there. So one of the laws that I passed was to empower the Island Beautification Task Force to consistently work at solutions towards illegal dumping, public destruction, and the trashing up of our island. Basically, we need somebody to be looking at this long term with a multi-agency effect. And so week after week, I tune into them, and they are making progress on it. We do need to do things like maybe have short-term and long-term solutions. So IBTF is a long-term solution, but short-term solutions is work with our mayors to have some amnesty areas so that people start getting into the habit of, instead of just dumping it anywhere, let's save money, time, and effort, and have amnesty areas where they learn to place it in a place where there's no penalties, no fees. We can probably save money at the same time with those areas.
Thank you, Kelly. That's our time. We will hear from Roy Gamboa. You have 1 minute, sir.
Thank you very much. I agree with both senators. However, I want to elaborate and expand a little bit more on the enforcement. I believe mayors have been given the right to impose fines. I have yet to hear of one fine that has been imposed on illegal dumpers. And as long as illegal dumping is something that we clean up all the time and we do it freely, people are going to feel like they can just dump because there is always going to be somebody that's going to clean up after them. The island's cleanliness is everyone's responsibility, not just the Guam EPA. This goes back to every individual. And I believe by educating our youth, teaching them respect, not only for themselves, but also respect of our island and the beauty of our island, help ensure that illegal dumping is curbed. Furthermore, one of the other ways to help reduce some of that is universal trash pickup, which was probably discussed in the past. So if we can find funding sources to ensure that that happens, that'll also greatly reduce dumping of the illegal nature. So enforcement, universal trash collection would definitely help keep our island a lot more beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Roy. I think we have time for a couple more questions. And the next question will be posed to Senator Joseph Augustine, Speaker Therese, and John Allen. Your question is, what can the Guam Legislature do to help the homeless, to get them off the street and into care and skills training? We will first hear from Senator Joseph Augustine. Your minute starts now, sir.
All right, the question was, how do we get them off the street and prevent homeless? As many of the things that have been happening is that some of our folks out there, unfortunately, as a retired military guy, some of the retirees that are out there, they don't want to have to worry about a bill. They want to be homeless. They want to live on the street. They just want to be comfortable. But we got to curb and we got to find out, because if I'm correct, Guam Behavioral Health are involved in finding out what are some of the reasons why. And then for some folks, they're concerned about getting a job. And that's where we get GCC involved. There's many ways to work this so that we can curb homelessness. But one of the biggest things is to find a way, like, you ask other questions. First-time homeowners, there's mechanism, there's bills that have introduced and would pass that would help first-time homeowners, get them in a home, get the homes more affordable for everybody, and then we may reduce homeless. But one of the biggest factors, it's about getting Guam Behavioral Health involved, and then finding out what is the temperature of the folks that are homeless. Why are they homeless? Once we know that, and I think West Care has been involved in that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator. Speaker Terahi, your minute starts now.
Thank you. I think taking care of the homeless is very important for us as an entire community. It's important for our economy. Healthcare is important across the board. Expanding healthcare, I think it's going to help us to make sure that we can cover everyone. Expanding affordable housing is, of course, the key. And we have to expand our inventory. I think we are short of houses right now, and we're definitely short of houses that are affordable. we have to address the cost of living. That is sometimes the root of their homes. They can't pay other bills, and that is exacerbating our homeless issues. I think we do as a government provide shelters, and I think we should continue and expand those partnerships with nonprofits to provide critical services for homeless, including mental health, including shelters and especially shelters for children. Is that actually a large part of our homeless population, unfortunately, in Guam are children.
Thank you very much, Speaker. John Ananich, sir, your minute starts now.
All right. Well, I agree with both of my colleagues here. Going last on a question like this, all I can do is pretty much expound on what they're talking about. But I think the real issue is that we have to look at why why people are homeless, because not everybody who's homeless is homeless because of the same reason, right? So we need to be able to understand what are the dynamics behind the reason for them being homeless, and that way we can address it. We can categorize homeless individuals and put together a plan to help each different category. But homeless is not only the people on the street. I mean, I would actually say that substandard housing, people that don't have access to water or power, the people that are squatting, on land, they're homeless as well, right? It's not just the ones we see on the street. So we definitely need to categorize them and find out exactly why they're homeless, because like Senator Snoddy says, some just choose to live off the grid. But definitely as something that needs a lot more attention. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much, John. We will move on to the next question. We'll try to get through this. This will be posed to Roy Kanata, Alex Duenas, and Chris Barnett. Your question is posed from the listening audience today, Janae Uggan. As a person who primarily works with creating and dispersing scholarships, applications for scholarships are constantly growing every semester. How will you propose to help students pursue higher education? We will first hear from Roy Kanata, and sir, your minute starts now. Roy, you're muted.
Okay. Hafide, thank you, Janae, for that question. Sorry about that, guys. So I think, the educational facilitation with grants is very much appreciated. I think a lot of people would love to go to pursue higher education, but with the times these days, it's very expensive. Not only inflation, gas prices, and everything, people who want to go to pursue higher education need more grants and more funding to help them get their footing in higher education possibilities, right? So I think if we can fund more grants like the Doc Sanchez Award and Yamashita Corps, I think we will have a lot more educated people out there to facilitate positions that are empty right now. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Roy. Let's hear from Alex Duenas. Sir, your minute starts now.
All right, so just like with everything else, when we're trying to make an environment so that we can have more people go for these types of scholarships, we have to make it so that it can be more inclusive, or what I'm basically trying to say is fewer barriers to entry. Now, typically with scholarships, at least with the ones that I know, there has to be a test of some sort, whether you have to be a particularly good scholar or whether you have to have a needs-based test based on income. And I'm not saying to open the floodgates and let everybody in, but I think that if we're going to be creating grants and we're going to be creating programs that are going to be better, or at least incentivize individuals to go into or pursue scholarships, they need to feel like they have a chance to get it. And in order for them to have a chance to get it, we have to be more holistic with our approach of what constitutes someone who could fit within this category of scholarship, or which population can this appeal to particularly. And that would just be my idea, at least just as a base point to start the conversation and move forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex. Chris Barnett.
Thank you for the question. I want to commend the legislature because they did try and put more money into Protect scholarships and other scholarship programs. And I think when you have a majority of our island residents living at the poverty level or below the poverty level, then it's a no-brainer. Of course, they're going to be needing assistance to go to college. This is really crucial though, because when we talk about brain drain and we talk about our good people who go off island for schooling and then end up having to stay off island just to make ends meet because they can't afford to live here, it's a huge issue that I think collectively we need to look at. And I mean, let's bring the stakeholders, the University of Guam, to the table, the legislature, and find out how, and have that honest conversation and find out how we can put more money into these programs to make sure they benefit more people. We don't end up with this mad dash of everyone trying to apply to beat a deadline because they know that there just aren't enough scholarships out there to meet the demand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Folks, we have time for one last question. This question is, why should a young professional vote for you? Give me some time, just a second. We're gonna hear from the entire panelists, okay? And starting from the first panelist, you will have 1 minute. We will start with, in the order of the candidate lottery, Will Parkinson. Sir, why should a young professional vote for you? Your minute starts now.
I think a young professional should vote for me, Will Parkinson, number 8 on the ballot, because I'm a man that's worn many hats, and I'm sitting at the intersection of multiple generations. I'm a millennial, and so I still remember what it was like in the time before computers, but I also grew up with the computer in my household. So I could bridge that gap between the older generation and the younger generation and help that transition as we go from the old guard to the new guard. You know, I was a firefighter, I was a caretaker, I was a small business owner, I was an activist. And with your vote, I hope I could become your senator. So please vote for me, Will Parkinson, number 8. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Fred Bergalio, your minute starts now.
Okay, thank you. I like to ask the young professionals to vote for me, number 12 on the Democrat Party ballot. The reason why is because I'm committed to securing the future for all your families, bring the knowledge that I have, the experience I have as an old professional, and to connect with each and every one of you with your ambitions and your aspirations to succeed. And I have had that life experience from myself as a veteran, going to school, working myself up to college, and graduating, and working myself as a police officer, one as a recruit, all the way to the chief of police, and with the veterans too, as director of Veterans Affairs. A lot of the young professionals asked me what was the secret to my success, and it was through mentorships. And this is what I can also offer also as a leader in the Guam Legislature. It's about leading by example, letting everyone know there's possibilities and our next generation can succeed. And I have that confidence in them. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Senator Perez?
Hapaday, yes, I would like to, I guess, humbly ask the support from the young professionals, because through my time as senator, I've shown that I'm hardworking and I listen to everybody to help craft the long-term solutions that would benefit our island. I also am very much supportive of innovative solutions. As you know, we experience many challenges, and I think what it's going to take our young people to really tap into their creativity, which I think is really the way forward for our island. Because yeah, the more solutions we can provide, the more ways we can rebuild our economy. I've also done work to help our young starting businesses through the procurement reforms that I've done to expand more opportunities, as well as my legislation such as the Guam Tropical Energy Code, as well as the Zero Waste Act, which provides opportunities for our young professionals to exercise their expertise and ideas to help build a stronger Guam.
Thank you, Senator Perez. Kelly Marsh Titano?
So I noticed through the questions that were developed that I really appreciated that the Guam Young Professionals, when they're talking about government services, they understand that tax cuts and other sorts of issues may impact the services themselves. So I really appreciated that. And I feel like they really understand the importance of what I stand for, which is a sustainable Guam being the only responsible way to move forward. And I feel that they want a legislator like myself who listens to the public at public hearings, researches bills, and votes based on the data and the issue and not something else. And that they also want someone who will speak truth to power for the local and the federal government. We cannot close an eye to either of them. So also, I am a legislator who creates a broad spectrum of legislation for businesses, for safety, for education, and other, and I have a proven record. So I humbly ask for you to remember me as number 16, Kelly Marsh Taitano Siduas Maasi.
Thank you, Kelly. Dwayne Nicholas.
Hello, Afide again, it's me. So I would like you to vote for me because I'm a young professional as well. I'm only 47 years old, still got a long way. I own J. Goodman, and my business is a reflection of who I am. You go into the store, I've taken care of the elderly with affordable wheelchairs and giant teddy bears for the young, and street lights to keep you safe. I bring this kind of energy to the legislature because I believe in Guam. I invest in Guam. I'm investing for the future, and I'm very optimistic about the future and for your future. I'm going to plant the trees. I know one day I'm not going to be the one to sit under its shade, but you will. And thank you. I'm number 18 on the ballot.
Thank you, Dwayne. Senator Joe San Augustine.
Thank you. And yes, I'm number 9 on the, I'm not going to say Democrat side, because this is a Democrat forum for the Guam Young Professionals. But I do have a great working relationship with the Chamber of Commerce. As a matter of fact, they call me often. But and I expect that would continue with the Guam Young Professionals. I look forward to any issues that you guys have, and bring it to my attention, and let's come and let's sit down and let's have a conversation and let's discuss how we can take care of business, because we got to keep business in business because it's about the economy. And I thank you very much, and I'm number 9.
Thank you, Senator San Augustine. Speaker Therese Terlahi.
Thank you. Senator, I've taken sometimes politically challenging positions. I've asked difficult questions during hearings, and most especially when it comes to the best use of government finances, because those come from taxpayers. I've also tried to ensure that we are prioritizing tax refunds, prioritizing this unprecedented amount of federal funding that our government has received to expand infrastructure that will increase opportunity for entire generations. I believe in fairness in procurement and the efficient and fair delivery of services, and I have worked for that. I serve you as an experienced legislator and small business person myself, a parent, a product of Guam who's not beholden to any special interests. I've dedicated this time to being a public servant for the people of Guam, simply to try to ensure that all the people of Guam can thrive and that Guam excels locally, nationally, and internationally. And I could use your help, and I ask you for your help, and I thank you for your support. Jesus Mas.
Thank you, Speaker Terlahi. Roy Kanata. Sorry, Roy, I see you talking, but we have you on mute.
How about now? Hear me? Good? Okay. Hopefully, thank you, Guam Young Professionals, for hosting us again today. I really appreciate it. I humbly ask for your vote because my slogan is making a difference begins with you. I need your help because our island needs the younger generation to step up and help build a better Guam. It's time for the next generation to help create a better foundation for the next generation and ensure that our voice is always heard, and ensure that we have a seat at the table, because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. I am Roy Kanata. I am the youngest candidate for senator, and I will work hard for you, and I will continue to be passionate about our island. Thank you. I'm number 3 on the Democrat side, and have a great day and drive safe.
Thank you very much, Roy. Alexander Duenas.
All right, so like what Roy said, I'd like to thank the GYP for hosting this wonderful event and giving us an opportunity to be able to speak to the youth and all others who are listening. I'm not the youngest candidate, but I am the second youngest candidate. And basically what I'm providing is just a different perspective. I think there's a lot of great perspectives in the legislature currently, but mine is just a different one, and one that just relates to also my generation. I understand the challenges of my generation, what's important to us, and that's just something that I would like to bring forth as something that I would like to bring some of our issues forward, and we can work together with everybody and we can move forward to building a bigger and stronger Guam. And I humbly ask for your vote. I am number 11 on the ballot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alex. Roy Gamboa.
Hafide Guam Young Professionals, thank you very much. Quite simply, a vote for me is also a vote for you. I've worked my way up from humble beginnings and built a resume that is not much different than many of you in the Guam Young Professionals. I've done this over the years through collaboration and a passion to succeed. I come forward with a tremendous amount of respect, not only for our people, but also for our island and where our island can go. I kindly ask for your vote to help me represent you in the Guam Legislature. Guam Young Professionals, you are also our Guam Young leaders, and hopefully down the road we get to see many of you participate in forums like this, not only as the moderators, but sitting on our side of the table and looking to be the future leaders of our island. Number 17, Roy Gamboa, Sedus Masi.
Thank you, Roy. Chris Barnett.
Thank you. I'd like to appeal not just to the young professionals, but also the middle-aged professionals and the Manamco professionals. For 25 years, I spent my career in the private sector, so I feel like I have a good first-hand understanding of just how hard it is to be in the private sector. And I think that there's this train of thought with a lot of senators and even some candidates that every single business on Guam is out here to step on people's heads in the name of profit. I know, and you know, that's not accurate. And I think that we need to create a Guam where businesses thrive and our residents thrive. I've always stood up to power, but at the same time, I've never really made up my mind until I've heard both sides of an issue. I pledge to be that listening ear. I think through the pandemic, like I said, we've been very adversarial. Our government has been very adversarial with the private sector. I want to see these walls come down and bring all of us to the table again for those honest conversations. I've always held government accountable, and I'll do the same for the business community. I pledge for just one of your votes. I'm number 7 on the ballot, Daryl Chris Malafunction Barnett, Sidus Mossy, Viva!
Thank you, Chris. Jonathan Savares.
Hapade, thank you, GYP and the Guam Chamber for having me today, and I appreciate it. Each and every one of you for taking your time. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm here to work for each and every one of this, each and every person on this island, not for myself, not for personal interests. This is for our community to grow together. And the only way to do this is to take time to listen to everybody as we go. When looking at the Guam Young Professionals, this is the community that I'm in. I've worked with a lot of the people that are part of your organization in the hotel industry. Saw them leave. I watched my friends leave. The young professionals that were that were here leave, and this is why I'm striving to create to diversify our economy so they can come home, apply their talents here, and bring that spirit of who we are as a people back to Guam. And I humbly ask each and every one of you for your consideration and I'm number 6 on the ballot. And have a great day.
Thank you, John. Sarah Netadog.
Yes, Hafide. I'm always excited whenever I see a group like the Guam Young Professionals do things like this, instigate and encourage civic engagement and helping people get educated about the issues on our island, policy issues, social issues, economic issues. So I just think it's awesome. And I think that the young professionals are just a great group of people who, I hope that will be encouraged to take a look at the various candidates as well as consider me as one of your choices for the Guam Legislature. I started out being a young person on a board in 1977, and I appreciate that there are people that look out for our young people to be involved in policy, to be involved as persons, that their opinions are important. And so I want to continue to hear not only our young professionals, our youth, but those that are most vulnerable, our homeless, as well as those who are not normally heard. Sizus Masi.
Sizus Masi. Last, we have John Ananich. Sir, your minute starts now.
Yes, thank you. I asked for you to vote for me. One is because I'm a small business owner, and I understand the hard work and the struggle it takes to, to make it in the industry. But also, the one thing that I bring to the table is you don't need to look over your shoulder to wonder when somebody's going to come from behind and try to harm you or burglarize you, because you'll see me standing behind you to take care of you. I will stop crime. I will deter it. I will not stop it, but I will definitely. One thing we shouldn't be worried about is criminal activity as young professionals and business owners. That should be the last thing we worry about. There's too much on our table already. So that's why I'm running. I am running to deter criminal activity. I am running to hold these criminals responsible and accountable for their actions. I'm running to instill fear in those that wish us harm. So one less thing you have to worry about as a young professional is the crime and the crime rate. I'm running to protect you. I'm running to stand behind you, and I'm running to make this work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John Ananich. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our forum for today. On behalf of the Guam Chamber of Commerce and the Guam Young Professionals, we would like to thank you, senators, candidates, and the attending audience for your participation. We kindly remind that early voting is taking place at the Western Resort from Tuesday through Friday from 10 o'clock a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. And we kindly remind that primary election is on Saturday, August 27, 2022. Thank you again very much, and you guys have a great day.
You too. Viva!
Thank you. Viva!
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 Thank you. Bye, Cam.
Thank you, GYP. Thank you, Guam Chamber.
All right,
You guys have a good day. Yes.
Guam.
Thank you.